This review covers the Revell 1932 Ford Sedan. It's a 125 scale 2-in-1 kit, number 14553. It's rated at a skill level 4 for the intermediate builder. And at the depths of the Great Depression, the 1932 Ford introduced the original flathead V8 engine in an affordable series of cars with really timeless and beautiful styling. In 32, over 200,000 Fords were made at an average cost of $800. This kit was just re-released last year in 24 with retro box art and has its roots back into 1996 when Monogram issued the Speedwagon Phantom Woody kit as 85-7606. As an older mold design, the kit has a few issues. It has hood and grill shelf fit issues and repairs, and we're going to help you navigate through all those. Also, the decals are most appropriate for the highboy version of the kit. Now, on the other hand, it's got great part fit, and they're all nicely detailed. We'll also cover some opportunities here and change the paint sequence for better results for the seats and proper usage of the front engine mount. Also, the exhaust and front locating bar assemblies need to have their installation sequence changed. This 2-in-1 kit can be built as either a highboy hot rod or a resto-style street rod. It contains 188 pieces molded in white and clear parts. It's got optional headlights, 2 sets of slotted mags with spinners or wire spoke wheels, and 2 sets of big and little tires. It's also got a choice of 2 V8s, which includes a race version flathead or a 5-liter V8. We'll build this model in the version known as a resto rod, and it looks pretty much original from the outside, but it's got a modern drivetrain. And cars built in this style are lower than the originals, with modern wire or solid steel wheels, and they also have exposed hinges and door handles, the regular cowl lights and tail lights and headlights that look like original cars. And when you're done with the kit, it measures about 6.5 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and 2 3/4 inches high. So here are all those parts, all 188 of them. As you can see, the chrome is pretty nice. It's got a nice sheen to it. 4 complete sets of soft vinyl tires and some clear window glass. Also note that the wire wheels we're going to use are going to be stripped. I'm going to put those into some bleach to clear the chrome off of them and paint them a different color. Now here are the decals. They're very colorful and they're really nice. They'd look great on a hot rod style car, but they're not appropriate for the street rod. Nonetheless, if you use them, you're going to need probably some setting solution so that they'll fit to the contours and panel lines on the vehicle. Construction starts with the engine, so we'll put the block halves and the heads in the oil pan into place. And remember, you're going to have to remove chrome or paint from pieces that you want to glue together. Once those parts are together, you can paint the block a dark blue like I did, or any color you like. Also an aluminum tranny. Now we've got some chrome parts that'll go into place here, and a steel color for the intake. Also, of course, some flat black and medium hue black for some of the pulleys. Now, you can also notice the pre-wired distributor there. We're going to use a aftermarket part like that in replace of the kit's part. Here you see the completed assembly from left side. Now, when you put these parts together, test fit them first, make sure they're all flat and have good stable gluing positions. And you also see that we put some flat white around the air cleaner, the filter there to highlight that. And as you can see, running the pre-wired distributor wires, ignition wires to the engine really sets this off as almost a kit by itself. And here you see the engine later on as it's installed into the engine bay. It really gives a finished and professional look to your model. Now, as I mentioned, I've stripped the chrome from the plated wire wheels and painted those a red color that like you've seen on the old cars. And the hubcaps were left chrome, and the tires, of course, are those solid bigs and littles with no sidewall detail. Revell hasn't yet opted for those pad printed script tires that the other makers have done. Now, when you assemble the spoked wheels, note that the wheel spokes in the back are canted so that you can see those centers of those in between the spokes in the front. They're like in between each other from front to back, so that it has a better distribution of spokes on the wheel. So make sure that you rotate and locate those properly when you assemble the tires. And when you're done, they give a pretty respectable look. So now we'll locate the front axle assembly parts, the wheels, the drop axle, and the disc brake rotors, calipers there. And we're going to put those together as a unit. Make sure that you scrape off chrome from the glue joints. Now, take note, there's some hubs and nubs and little posts there on the axle that will be used to mount some of the locating arms, the radius rods, etc. later on. So you'll need to clean those up now as well. Now take a look at the instructions, which are located at the end of the review, if you're unsure of which ones those might be, so that you know which ones to scrape off and clean up ahead of time. Now get out the two pieces for the rear axle. It's the pumpkin cover there and the axle itself, and glue those two pieces together. I painted the rear end axle there a gloss black, and after that had dried, we'll put those together and once again scrape that paint and chrome, and we're going to assemble this along with that front axle. And if you've got any questions, look at panel 4 of the instructions at the back of the review. I'll put those together now, generally with the calipers on the brake plates towards the rear of the car. So here you see the two pieces for the master cylinder, which is attached to the brake booster, which is in halves. So go ahead and glue those halves together, and then you can clean up the seam and let that dry before painting later. Now we're going to be working with the rest of the chassis and frame here, and cautionary note there says flathead only. That's for part number 406. That cross member will interfere with the modern 5.0 V8, so don't install that if you're going to use the newer type of engine. And now locate the top half of the gas tank that you see here, and you can glue that into position before painting. And with the pre-assembly of the frame parts, with the exception of that large cross member, you can paint the chassis and the frame semi-gloss black, and we're going to assemble these units, the brake booster, the cross member, and the exhaust pipes into position in the lower frame. And now the sub-assemblies for the suspension and the shocks and towers can be added. You see the exhausts are already in place, and there's a sequence to this, so we'll show you how that's done too. And here's the rest of that assembly sequence, and as you can see, the first thing to go into position is the drop axle. Now scrape the chrome and the paint away from glue contact points and make sure they're fully seated. And then you can go ahead, once that's in place, add the shock towers and shocks for the front suspension. And then finally the back end can be added the same way. Drop the suspension in and then the shocks. Also there's a steering box there, or the steering box there with the column attached to it. And you have to turn it over to install that, because as you see here, it is in an upright position on the other side. And be careful when you install these pieces. They're very fragile, but you have to lightly and carefully scrape the chrome off from contact points. We'll be adding the radius rods there, and the suspension, steering parts, along with the front and back spreader bars next. And coming up on this next section, you'll note that there's an option here. The exhaust part numbers 62 and 3 are only used on the high boy version. So if you're using those, you'll be building the high boy. If not, you'll use the standards that were on the engine at the beginning of the instructions here. Now it's time to complete the rolling chassis. And as you can see, the engine is staged up there. We'll install the engine first, and by the way, simultaneously, you see that shaft back, that drive shaft back there is painted steel, and we're going to install that into the rear end and the end of the transmission at the same time. So drop that down together, and on those motor mounts, make sure that your motor is firmly seated so that it sits properly in the engine bay. And after that's done, we can add the headers to the engine so that we have proper spacing from there and out the underside towards the back. Now the seats come in 2 pieces, so go ahead and glue those together. You see on the left they're unassembled, and then on the right they've been glued to the back side of the seats. So let those dry before painting and clean up the seams. Now we'll assemble the interior bucket. With the seats ready to go, we're going to add those pieces, and you see that they have been painted a light tan along with the side panels and the back seat. The floor is a grayish color, and we're going to use that for carpeting, which you see is also at the bottom of each of the side panels. Now we'll detail the dash and the steering mechanism here. We've got the gauge decals go in from the back side on the chrome instrument panel there. We've got chrome appointments on the column, stalks. And likewise the steering wheel has the spokes been painted a chrome paint, and there's some appointments like that also on the dash, as you see. So we're going to assemble this unit and get that ready to install. Now we can scrape off the paint from the sides of the dashboard and glue that into the slots on the side panels. Now we'll work on body prep. You see the red lines there denoting the parting lines, and they're very minor. Simply scrape them off a little bit and use some sandpaper or sand sticks to smooth those over. Also look for other blemishes and possible sinks on there, along with some minor flash that might occur around the windows or the wheel wells. After the body was cleaned up nicely and given some light prime, a light gray prime inside and out, I went ahead and sprayed the entire body with a dark blue color. The top is it's a cloth top. It's actually painted a flat black. You basically tape off the body and spray that after the body's dry. Of course, you see there's some chrome highlights on the windshield, and I added some stripes from the decal set. Unfortunately, I had to take them off later to do some repairs. So now we're going to put the grill and radiator together. You see the grill has gotten a black wash to paint the inserts there, the insets I should say, in the grill to give it some definition. And the grill shell, that's painted body color blue. Now we're also going to paint the radiator a gloss or a medium gloss black. Now here is where I found out that I had a fit issue, which is why I had to remove the decal stripes that I had put on. So here's a word to the wise. Test fit the grill shell to the front cross member before painting. I discovered there was a fit problem, and I had to do some touch-up there. So learn from this mistake and make sure that fits before you do all of your decaling and painting work. Well, as time went on, Ford actually added color to their cars, and this resto rod is one of those. Of course, the blue body, but the fenders on all of your early Fords were gloss black, so I painted that appropriately. So all the parts are staged here, so we'll be adding those, and the body is mated to the chassis. Make sure you have some strong glue where the glue points are for that union, and then when you put the body down, make sure it's fully seated and is perpendicular to the flat plane of the chassis. But then we'll add the rest of the parts as well. And note too that there are a lot of high boy only parts and or the sedan parts that are different at this stage, so you'll be putting in the appropriate pieces for your model. So here is the assembled grill shell with the radiator hoses that will go in place on the motor. Here you see that I've put the hood sides, the skirts there, onto the hood, well before painting. But what you need to do, I think, would be best to add this to the mock assembled body and chassis and the frame there, and put the radiator grill and that into place so that they all go together, and use some slow setting glue if needed later, but make sure that this fits and you do any sanding or trimming that you need to get a good fit before you paint. Here's where you can remedy some of those issues. The hood and the splash apron here are ready to go on, and the splash apron's only for the two-door. Throughout the build, just check to make sure that the parts that you're using are applicable to the style you're building. Now, it's best to wait until the grill shell is on the chassis before putting the grill on, as there's some trimming at the bottom back side of the grill shell that was needed to fit the grill into the shell at that point. Now we can get to that back end with some of the chrome pieces, and you can see that the tail lights there are clear. You're going to want to touch them with a little stoplight red, add those to the bezels, and then we're going to add the bumperettes and the bumpers and the tail lights to the back end, along with the license plate and bracket. Next, you can add the headlights up front. The cowl lights are, inserted into the shell, the nacelles there with some white glue, some clear glue around the edges, and then that's located onto the fenders. You use some light glue there, super glue, to touch them into position, and you got to scrape off that chrome first, of course. So go ahead and get those pieces finished up front there, along with the door handles, and then your kit is basically finished. All right, these are the parts that I had left over from the kit, and as you can see, you've got a lot of highboy pieces here. You got a full set of bigs and littles, 2 sets of wheels, and appropriate decals, and a complete modern 5-liter V8 engine. Well, there you have it. Your kit is finished, and what a great looking model this is going to make for your display shelf. These Rusto rods are really beautiful, and they come in different styles, of course. Most of them are in OEM type paint, but there's a lot done with the modern drivetrain and engines, etc., and still a lot that is done to preserve the basic look of the original, but they are sharp because they're all brand new looking, and in fact they drive like new as well. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations, where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.